SEBA Crypto has received the green light from Swiss regulators to build one of the country's first crypto banks. Joining me here in the studio is Guido Buehler, CEO of SEBA Crypto. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for the invitation, Olivia.
Okay, to kick things off, most of us already have bank accounts. Tell me, why exactly would we even need to go to a crypto bank?
The crypto bank allows you to give you access into a new asset class. Particularly now in the context of the monetary policy and the geopolitics, people are looking for alternatives, and cryptocurrency can be one of these alternatives.
Does that mean that suddenly someone can actually walk in and store their crypto assets there or start investing in crypto?
That's the main idea. We are providing the entire life cycle for digital assets, starting from issuing tokens to storing tokens, opening accounts in crypto, particularly true for crypto companies and their employees. They have a harder time to access, but also for banks, for asset managers, for family offices and entrepreneurs. Then they seek for a direct access to the various markets. They are maybe looking for financing, we are doing that, and an overall asset and wealth management mandate where they would like to have a healthy mix between traditional assets and also crypto assets.
As part of the groups that you are targeting, you've mentioned family offices and entrepreneurs. Does everyone need to be a crypto-savvy individual?
It always helps to understand, and we are aiming for institutional, down it calls the professional private investors. So that means you need to be a savvy investor. There is still a lot of mystics around crypto and digital assets, what this is all about. And we have to do a lot of education to make sure that people are comfortable to access and invest into this asset class.
We'll get into that knowledge gap just a little bit later, but when you first started out of the gates, you made headlines after receiving, say, 100 million Swiss francs to build SEBA and get it off the ground. Tell me, how expensive is it really to build a bank from scratch?
So we worked with a lot of technology partners, and that allowed us to be very quick in ramping up the bank and also be very cost effective. But I can tell you the cost of ramping it up is less than 30% of the 100 million.
Have you just been spending a lot of money since you haven't taken on clients while waiting for the license?
Absolutely. So basically, we've been burning cash, right? We didn't want to go live, or we're not allowed to go live with any services until we have the license, and we are aiming to go live in October. And we are now eager to create and generate some profits in order to aim the break-even period to be very close.
So now it's time to get down to business. Give us an idea of how many clients you want to target, say, by 2020.
We are aiming for all 4 client segments. So basically, this is banks. We are opening up services for all sorts of professional banks that are creating or receiving demands for these for crypto assets and digital assets. We believe that partnerships will there will be lots of partnerships to follow. Then we have the asset managers. There is quite a significant interest in that regard. Family offices and entrepreneurs, we have been approached by many of them. And then we call it the private individual, where people can onboard electronically on their own. So we believe that by 2020, there is a significant size that is very close to the 5-digit number of client relationships.
Okay, so one of your targets is actually institutional investors. When we spoke to Signum last week, that was also one of their key target areas. How will this compare in terms of price competition? How can you stand out there?
From a pricing perspective and the pricing philosophy, we want to make sure it's aligned. It shouldn't really make a difference for the investor to invest into traditional or into digital assets. At the end of the day, we believe one of the benefits of DLT is to have a much more efficient and effective investing methodology, so to speak. It's more direct, it's frictionless, and therefore the cost of the investor and the clients should be more compelling towards compared to the traditional bank.
Now, SEBA actually linked up with Julius Baer. What is this going to change now that you have received the license for Julius Baer clients?
Julius Baer is one of the minority shareholders. We have a very balanced shareholder arrangement. And Julius Baer, I think, have very early realized that this new technology is basically enabling the finance industry in many forms and shapes. Now, with going live, we also, and that was an afterthought, there is a cooperation arrangement, and this allows basically Julius Baer clients to store, access, and trade cryptos, but also then digital assets in a very convenient way. So it's basically a supporting element for Julius Baer and their clients. And there are many other banks that are seeking for the same solution.
Now, you've actually outlined quite a number of services that people can access with crypto banks, but there are still hurdles regarding the broader Swiss crypto market, money laundering, scams, even concerns about crypto as an asset class. How does this environment actually affect your business?
Well, I mean, one of the key elements is that with the regulation or the license that we have received in line with the new guidelines for the money laundering setup
by FINMA.
FINMA and also internationally, is that it is safe, right? And there is a lot of headlines associated to crypto that are negative, but actually all these elements are positive. Blockchain, you can trail flow from the genesis up to now, you can see exactly what's happening. And what happens is we have to explain what this is and what it isn't, who qualifies to be a client for a bank, and what are the opportunities by having a bank account with SEBA or one of these crypto banks.
But speaking of headlines, one company that has generated headlines in Switzerland is Facebook's Libra Association based in Geneva.
Yeah.
Now, since that is facing regulatory backlash, how do you think that affects the whole perception and people's willingness still to use cryptocurrencies?
I mean, on the Libra side, there are basically two elements. One element is issuing currency, and it has also something to do with trust. And with Facebook and the impacts it had with using social media data had clearly an impact on trust for the regulators. We have seen that for the voting results and all those dynamics. But now it's the next step about money. And therefore, I think it's clear that the regulators are concerned about this and would like to understand what that means. And on the other hand, I think people also have now more comfort about, with regulated banks, that there are issuers of currencies or digital assets that fulfill all the regulatory requirements. And maybe a combination of those two factors may create an environment that is more open, but at the same time also regulated, and therefore creates confidence.
Okay, and to put it into perspective, are you actually against Libra? Are you worried that some of the backlash to face there could trickle down to the environment we see here?
I'm not really concerned about this. There has been some talks that maybe with the Libra a conversation, it may have certain impact to the regulators, but Switzerland is very committed to be the crypto nation. I think it has done all the homework. We also have a regulatory framework that allows a progress and still be in line with the regulations, and always aiming for the top ambitions in terms of regulatory and safe environment. So I'm not concerned, actually.
Even though we have seen recently regulators from the US coming to Switzerland and still expressing their concern?
Well, I mean, clearly, it's also for those people, and demystification needs to happen. People need to understand what is it really. And the Libra announcement obviously has been very big and very public. There are also certain questions how it's being regulated, and this is true. And I think the regulators, the US, and they have some questions, and Switzerland has a clear standard. It says what are the requirements, and now it's really up to Libra to explain. But I don't think that has a negative spill over effect to other players in the market, such as SEBA.
Okay, and maybe just to wrap up, one of the biggest blockchain companies in Switzerland, Bitcoin Swiss, they've also set their sights on securing a banking and securities dealer's license from FINMA.
Yeah.
What could increased competition potentially mean for you?
Look, this is a significant change. This is one of the trigger points. I call it like internet. And DLT has all the attributes to change and redefine finance. Therefore, the market is huge. And the more players we have, the more liquidity. It's the network effect. And therefore, we really appreciate and support that also Bitcoin. Mount Pelerin is another candidate that they are aiming to go into that space.
Thank you very much, Mr. Buehler.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.